Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the S.H.O.P, the social hub of positivity. With me each week, I say I've got a special guest, because in truth I have. But more so this week, because it's an old friend and a mentor of mine. A lot of people out here will know him, and he is the Trafford in the Annie Walker Trafford continuum. Ladies and gentlemen, Gordon Trafford. Hello, Gordon.
Hello.
How are you,
In
sir?
Chippenham, I'm known as Annie's dad.
Annie's dad. Absolutely. Now, what a good thing to be known as. It could be worse.
No, I'm very proud of that.
Isn't it? I'm not surprised. Now, apart from being a wonderful man, and today, by the way, we're in the shop, the S.H.O.P, launching Gordon's beautiful poetry book, pamphlet, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. Collection of poems.
Collection of poems is what I prefer.
Yeah, collection of poems. Let's call it a collection of poems. Gordon, about your collection of poems. How did that come about? Tell the people.
Do you know what? I don't really know. I have no idea why I started writing the odd poem. That's not a very good answer, but I just don't know in terms of the origin of the creativity, if it is such a thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the first one was, but it's something I like to do because, as I said in the little collection, there are things in there that I want to share. So I do the sharing through poems.
Yeah, and through the lockdown, I mean, we started doing our digital show the Wednesday, the day after the first announcement of the lockdown. And you've been contributing to that over the last 18 months, both visually and with words. What I mean visually is taking photographs and what have you. And now there's something about that accessibility, and it's partly to do with modern technology and how we can share things. But back in the day, if you remember, you had a vinyl version of Johnny and Mary. I mean, now you'd be sending that through space for us to listen
Thought
to.
waves.
Isn't it? But that what you do, and people suggest, and we'll put some stuff on this again, so that people who haven't got it, we can come to the shop if you're around Chippenham or order it. I don't know. It's worthwhile in the sense that I found the work very touching, and I mean that in a sincere. I'm a very emotional man. You know me for a long time, so I found that quite beautiful. That the whole process of the actual digital open mic, actually, particularly through the pandemic, you look literally seeing into people's lives. They were, you were sharing from Cornwall all the beautiful. What might seem what for me is okay. You make the mundane, right? Romantic. Do you know what I mean? In a kind of an emotional. This sounds, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's also true.
Yeah.
You write about things which sometimes artists, why do they do a whole collection of bricks and stuff? What's that to do with it? It kind of extenuates something that we take for granted, and I think you've been able to capture something which has an emotional attachment. So you talk about frying pans, scarves.
Yeah,
but it's if you were just say, I write about scarves, chickens, the dead, this, that, whatever, people go, oh, that's that, but it all goes together. What you're talking about, how you're talking about it, and the profound nature that when you kind of think deeper into what you're saying and how you're saying it, it's the nature of actually relation, because it's a relation to why you're inspired emotionally by your daughters or by life or by things that make us feel comfort. A cat taking some rays, this thing, there's something really accessible about it, and that I think is something that it touches me, and we want to promote here, of course. And you're a director of Can Do. You've also been a very inspirational head teacher for many years, a teacher, an educator in the widest possible sense. How long were you doing teaching?
I think my career spanned
So
32 years. I started off in Corsham in 82, 83, and I finished in Calne, as the locals say it, in 2013.
Yeah, with a good trajectory. You went to Bristol
in the
Brislington, that's right, I remember
Wiltshire,
that.
Bristol, Wiltshire.
Yeah, but you're the nature, and this is the nature of our relationship, isn't it? Basically, that at a time when I was lured into coming to Corsham School to volunteer by our good friend Lindsay Thompson, I think she's just trying to annoy me into not being so dumb, to come in and do some drama workshops with the young people at Corsham. I got to meet yourself, and I got to see a side of humanity of teachers, which up until that point, and I think I was, 18, 19 sort of age group, that I was amazed, actually. I know it sounds crazy,
Yeah.
but if you're not an academic person and your relationship with school, mine was more social than it was ever academic. Mine was the place where you sort of met people and, whatever. And depending on the relationship, the teacher did whatever in those subjects. But what was profound about you was that it was almost not that you were a reluctant teacher, because you're a natural educator and an inspirer, and you've been going on obviously, and you've helped set up Can Do, and back in the day when we were a charity, you were the first ed trustee, and God, didn't you regret that when they started coming at you? Who's your man? But always inspirational. Now, a little point I'm going to say, because I think it's important, that of all the people at Can Do that we've worked with, the young people, over this last 23 years, we would often come from schools all over the place, from as far away as Bristol and what have you, but we'd say to, if they come from local schools, how do you get on with your head teacher, or whatever? And invariably the child wouldn't necessarily have a relationship with the head teacher, only for that head teacher to maybe be at a meeting which excluded that child or what have you. But regardless of that, literally without exception, every young person that we ever met, from John, the former John Bentley, every time I'd mention you head teachers, oh, Mr. Trafford, he's a legend. To this day, I still meet people in pubs. Not that I should frequent pubs, but I need to do this. I go in there only to ask these questions.
To talk about me.
Yeah, it's amazing that kids, or now adults, faces like them, say, oh no, he's a legend. And then, of course, I get to say, well, do you know what he's doing now? And then I explain that, and there's that you're still working with Can Do. So this is great. And obviously, then we've got Annie, and of course, once you meet Annie, you know what I mean? You forgive him for everything, aren't you? You go, Gordon, he's a lovely bloke. Have you met Annie? Oh, she's amazing. You know what I mean? She's added such calibre to that name, Trafford.
Absolutely.
You know, not just in height, not just in beauty, but in integrity.
It's an honour to live in her shadow.
Isn't it? That's quite a long one.
It's an honour to live in her shadow.
It's bloody, excuse my language, bloody's in the Bible, bloody's in the book. If you don't believe me, take a bloody look. She's amazing, and obviously between yourself and her mother, who are both educators and care deeply about children and their development, she's a testament to that. Is this a show about you, or is it about your daughter? We'll work that out later on, son. What do you think then? Because you're doing lots of stuff in Cornwall with Reach Out and whatever. How do you see the world now of education, and what's your thoughts on it?
To be honest, in terms of formal education, I've kind of lost touch. My only link with education in the widest sense is my links with Can Do and with Reach Out.
Yeah. And
I admire both organisations because they are working with the hardest to reach and the students that schools with the best will in the world find difficult to cope with. So organisations like Can Do and Reach Out have the facilities, the resources, and the kind of one-to-one provision that these students need. The schools just haven't got.
Yeah.
So, sometimes for the students, the Cornish students and possibly the Wiltshire students, it's the kind of last chance, and very often those last chances turn into life-changing and life-giving opportunities, which is one of the reasons why Can Do and Reach Out are so important.
Yeah.
I just watched today young people, 13-year-old, performing her own song.
Yeah.
And what that gives to that young person, who I don't know,
yeah,
in terms of confidence and self-esteem, is beyond measurement, and I've just seen it.
Yeah. That's exactly it, isn't it? And it's kind of to try and put that into a bid, or trying to explain it. Now, from, as you well know, and as I say, and I don't say it lightly, Lindsay, yourself, massive influences on me, looking at how, personalities, people, their intentions, educate, whatever, can affect the outcomes. Now, as you know, I went to London, did drama classes, musician, what have you, came back and set this thing up with your help, Lindsay's help, because I don't think I quite understood really what it was. I knew it to do with sustainable development, it was to do with emotions, to do with whatever, but actually having the influence of significant people. If you remember, we only met Donna Lee, who's a stalwart of Can Do. Everyone who knows Can Do knows Donna Lee. She's like the backbone and the front bone and probably the hip bone as well. But the looks and the intelligence, I don't know why I do. I'm just a doorman, aren't I, really? You introduced Donna to us, and she was your school counsellor. Now,
She was indeed.
at the time, I was doing conferences and doing various workshops for all sorts of people, and so saying, have you been to John Bentley and seen what they're doing? Because I was amazed. We worked all up and down in and around Wiltshire, but the actual process and the things you had with Mike White, absolute legends. What you had going on in that school, the inclusive nature where everyone else is there, how's the quickest, the easiest way to get rid of these disruptive or these challenging kids? You were doing the opposite. I think she's there, look. Donna's turned up out of the dead. From that, that's bizarre. I just talking to her. Talk about the dead. I'll talk about something else and see if that turns up. Love, peace and freedom throughout the world, and it's something to do with the climate emergency. But really brave. Your way of looking at how to involve, not to exclude, to do as much as you can with the wider family as well. Very community, that school. Really community.
It's hard to believe now, but in the late 90s, the concept of inclusion, which is now obviously familiar to everybody, was new. And I think in some ways we were groundbreaking in those early days.
Oh, 100%. Well, I can only speak from my own experience, and that's going to schools and working and being called in to do various things. Say, wait a minute, these I used to say to me, have you, why don't you just phone up John Bentley, go to John Bentley. Ask them, I'm pretty sure they'll be more than happy to share their practice with you. And as it turned out, obviously, there she is, look. I think without a doubt, in my experience, you definitely were innovators. And fair play to you for doing that. What, we've got this, obviously, poetry launch in a minute. What else is on the horizon for you? What are you doing?
Well,
we want to do a lot of work together.
Interestingly, one of the things I think I'll say later on, I don't wish to sound pretentious, but I'm not a poet, I'm experimenting with poetry. So in my future, I am going to dabble a bit further in poetry. I'm now fully retired and my wife's fully retired. And I am going to play, hopefully, a slightly larger, wider role in Reach Out in Cornwall and hopefully in Can Do in Wiltshire. So just to get a little bit more involved, and I'm not quite sure what that means, but now that I've got time on my hands, I want to be able to make a bit more of a contribution than I have in the last 5 years.
Well, yeah, you were there from the beginning at Can Do.
That's true. I mean, recently it's all dropped off a bit.
Well, only because, for obvious
Cornwall.
reasons. Yeah, and also, well, not just, but we worked together in Cornwall. How many films have we done in Cornwall with you?
Well, I have to say I was a star of a film called A Postcard from Perranporth.
Listen, kid you not, people, if you haven't seen Postcard from Perranporth,
watch it.
But more as importantly, it's about process for me.
Yeah.
But for us, as you know, it's always been your thing. It's inclusivity. Get allowed, listen to people, whatever. It is a fact, and people who've seen the film might say, "Well, you can tell." That film, from me and you sitting in your wonderful Indian in Perranporth, sitting around with Jill, and Sarah
Lee,
right, and real conversations happening about real people from Cornwall talking about, that's right, Richard, whatever. Sitting there, and I turned to you and I said, we do a film that I was your brother, and this is true, everyone. 8 weeks exactly to the thing, doing workshops with your Reach Out, finding out what their involvement is. 8 weeks from mentioning it in that thing to having it filmed in the can, as they'd say. Filmed. That's what
I still have a treasured photograph of myself walking onto the red carpet at the Historia.
Yes. It's on the promo, actually, people. If you look at the Can Do YouTube thing. We were obviously coming down. Yeah. We're Historia.
Is it still called Historia?
We still call it Historia. It's the only one left in the country.
It's not the Odeon name.
It was always the Historia.
Good.
But the Historias, like in London and everything, the architect that designed them back in the 20s, they were all up and down the country. Yeah? That is the last representation of one of those.
It's still there.
Yeah, it is. Real Cinema, to be fair to them, are fantastic. Mohammed Faisal, who's the operations manager, is so, as you know, we have film festivals there, support the Wiltshire College with the media projects that we do with the work experience, etc. Really, really important stuff. We're going to be doing more films and music. We've got Will Lawton and people coming down to do some stuff with Reach Out. Another film beckons, don't you think? I mean, I'd like to say a follow-on from Perrenport.
There's rumour you want me to play a French human rights lawyer.
Yeah, but with that's a brilliant
That's
idea.
good pas français.
Ouais, on peut. Je m'appelle, non, je ne peux pas parler en français.
Ah, oui,
Mais voici les mots que je connais. Brigitte Bardot,
Ouais.
Michel Platini,
Yeah.
escargot.
Ouais.
Tao full.
Tu parles plus ou moins couramment.
There's no need for that, right? This is a family show. We will be doing more of this.
Ooh.
We will be doing not more of this. This is.
Oh no!
I mean this.
Not
I
this.
mean know what this
Yeah.
is.
Not
We
stuck
want to
in a
come and do the
little room
on.
with too many mirrors.
Yeah, unlock reset down in Perrenport. I would like to anyone from Perrenport listening to this. Love the Perrenport thing. Love the
place.
centres.
Good place.
Obviously, we
Proper
filmed
boozer.
those. Yeah, the proper places. Really love it. And you've got the wonderful place on the what's it called the
Watering hole.
Watering hole. Lovely. We want to come and do the Unlock Reset Festival in Cornwall every year, but at a time when there aren't too many, no disrespect to tourists.
October.
I think so, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you think that's what I do? I thought that.
Perfect.
October. So we plan now, we get it in the sort of whatever. I want it to be a situation, there's nothing to do with anything other than it's filmed mainly in the centres. We show that film every year. I want it to get to a stage where people not only come and see it, regardless of how many times they've seen it, they come dressed as the characters and they know each
The
and every
danger with
word.
that is that you and me may get snapped up by major film companies.
I've seen this, mate. There's not a hope of that.
No.
The only thing we're likely to get snapped up by is someone's dog
Yeah,
or a
fair
crocodile that's loose from.
Fair play.
Do you know what I mean? But nothing wrong with that.
No.
Nice bit of snapping.
I still, sometimes when I text you or talk to you, I still sign myself off as Dickie.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Dickie is my character in the film.
Yeah,
Those
just
of you
in
that
case
don't know.
people-
Just in case there's anyone watching this that hasn't seen it.
Yes, yeah. I mean, considering we'll be the only two people watching this, we can guarantee
Yeah.
that we will be.
Yeah.
No, it's been an inspiration and a pleasure. So I'm really delighted that we're now about to go and watch you launch this book. And
Well,
we're also going to put
Peggy's first.
Peggy first. but
Peggy's
we've
got a
beautiful-
lot of poems.
Yeah. Peggy, I come out there now in a minute and tell you one poem I see in your book. It's great to have all that in the shot. That's what the shot's about, isn't it?
Very special place.
But we will call back to this when we're down in Cornwall, because we were down there last week, if you noticed, from our shop on tour.
Live from Lostwithiel.
Yeah, and from St Austell. We went to Perrenport to start sorting this festival out, so we'll come down, we'll have a little meeting. We have our trustees meetings anyway, but I mean, have a meeting and get that festival in Cornwall sorted for next year.
Perfect.
Nice one, my friend. Great inspiration, ladies and
Thank you
gentlemen.
very much.
Gordon Trafford. Very, very much. Elvis Presley. He's lost the building. Nice one. Back.
Cheers, Ed.
Nice one.